Folks, we're finally getting some substantial updates about these UFO experts that have gone missing, and now there's been a major development in the UFO community. New information is finally being released. The people in the UFO community have been fighting the government for disclosure of a whole bunch of things, and we might finally be getting to some of the answers about what's really going on with them aliens. But the first thing I want to show you is this interesting video, because Logan Paul weirdly linked up with Bob Lazar to release the long-rumored Chuck Clark UFO video, and this apparently caused a massive stir online. This says Jake Paul reportedly offered a guy $100K for a video, and the guy turned him down but offered to let him view it. Well, allegedly, Jake wore a button camera and recorded what he viewed, then showed it to Mr. Lazar. Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. So look at this. This is crazy.
I have in my possession UFO footage that has a story behind it that is compelling but not convincing. And I've been waiting to just do something with this footage or receive confirmation of sorts. When I was watching the trailer for S4 that you guys released, about 80% of the way through the trailer, you guys show a disc that is at night, but then kind of coats itself in this orange.
Right. Yeah.
Okay?
That's right. Yeah.
Dude, I paused it there and I said, oh my God, that looks exactly like the footage that I have. So this footage, supposedly authentic, was taken by two college kids who wanted to go to Area 51 in the 90s. I believe it was 1995, and film their experience of trying to see if they could stumble upon a UFO or just alien activity of sorts.
Let's break this down. A couple of college-age guys drove out to the Black Mailbox, an infamous landmark entrance point to Area 51. It's along the road that leads to Groom Lake, extremely close to where Bob said he worked. It's nighttime. They're parked right in front of the fence surrounding the secret facility. The lights are off on their car, and they have a camera resting on the armrest, pointed through the front windshield.
And then it cuts to under the dashboard, and you see something very clearly illuminating like the top of the dashboard, and they're like hunkered underneath the car, and they're whispering to each other like, I think it's out there. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe we should go out. And they're like kind of scared.
Then something appears just beyond the glass. The craft is hovering extremely close to the car. It's orange and slightly wobbling or undulating in place as if it's on a wave. You can hear the two guys whispering.
That's spooky, man. So they're saying that's the UFO. It's a disc. It's a sort of illuminated disc spinning in the sky. The classic UFO style.
Yeah, that to me is exactly how it was described by Bob. It's exactly like your hand did.
Yeah, it's moving the right way. It's the right color and it's the right shape. So it makes it very compelling. You can see that it wobbles exactly
But it wobbles.
like your film.
It wobbles. That's the important thing. Yeah, so it does comport with your video.
It wobbles. It glows like that in that color, in that shape.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
That's wild.
it's impressive. It is.
Spooky as hell. Okay, so all of this is kind of coming out around the time that the Pentagon is facing accusations of a cover-up because they failed to meet a congressional deadline to release 45 unreleased UFO videos. This post was put up in response to this, basically saying, UAP deadline, no one from the Pentagon responded until we reached out, and it appeared someone didn't pass the letter to the appropriate authorities. How convenient. Nonetheless, we'll be getting the requested list. We're not waiting for a briefing at some unspecified future date. The Secretary of War is someone I consider a friend and someone who backs the president, and the president authorized the release, so whoever's trying to be cute at the Pentagon can take a hike. Okay, the president authorized the release, and the Pentagon, they're just dragging their feet. They don't want to release the info on them aliens, them UFOs. So this is in the Daily Mail. This is coverage of this cover-up. It says Pentagon accused of cover-up after failing to release UFOs by the deadline. It says the U.S. Pentagon has been slammed for missing a strict deadline to release the UAP unidentified anomalous phenomena videos, with critics citing a cover-up. Republican Representative Anna Paulina Luna penned a letter to the U.S. Secretary of Defense on April the 1st, ordering Pete Hegseth to deliver 46 specific clips no later than April the 14th, 2026. It's the 15th now. It's a cover-up. So the lawmaker said the videos could reveal patterns of activity near sensitive military sites and help determine whether the objects could pose a potential national security threat. Let me park my Zin real quick. The requested footage includes dozens of military recorded encounters showing spherical, cigar-shaped and tic-tac-like objects spotted over war zones, oceans, and sensitive airspace around the world. Some clips reportedly captured UAP formations near Iran and Syria, incidents near US bases and airports, and even a 2023 shoot-down over Lake Huron. The threats extend beyond these mysterious sightings, highlighting the danger unidentified objects pose when they appear near restricted airspace, military bases, and active training zones. Luna, however, said on Tuesday afternoon on X that no one from the Pentagon had responded until we reached out, and it appears someone didn't pass the letter to the appropriate authorities. How convenient! And she basically said, Trump's authorized the release, stop being cute, and just drop them alien files, okay? Says the announcement has been met with fury online, with many saying the world deserves to know the truth. The American people want this all declassified. There's zero reason for any of it to be kept secret, and there's zero valid reason other than to justify spending money on an annual budget for a bunch of rogue federal employees. Another user shared, yep, sounds like normal government protocol. What letter? Commenting on Luna's statement that Trump had ordered the release, one user said, isn't it amazing how our government won't listen to itself? Or the will of the people. I'm sorry, I must have been mistaken when I was taught that the entire point of the government was that in the first place. In February, Donald Trump directed federal agencies, including the Pentagon, to begin identifying and releasing files related to UFOs, also known as UAPs, and potential extraterrestrial activity. Based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, and unidentified flying objects, UFOs, Trump wrote on Truth Social back on February the 19th. So, Representative Luna has been advocating for transparency regarding the UAPs. She's chairing the House Federal Secrets Task Force focused on investigating UAPs and declassifying federal records and protecting whistleblowers. In the early April letter, she wrote, the continued lack of transparency surrounding these anomalies and the potential national security threat they pose is troubling. She added that the task force held a hearing on September the 9th, 2025 to discuss those concerns. Whistleblowers informed the task force that the AARO possesses additional video records of potential UAP sightings. To continue its investigation, the task force requests certain video files related to UAP sightings. The requested footage reportedly shows spherical objects weaving through clouds, hovering over open water and repeatedly appearing near US warships and submarines. Several clips were captured by fighter jets, surveillance aircraft, and drones operating in regions such as the Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, and the East China Sea. In multiple cases, more than one object was tracked moving at high speeds at the same time, raising concerns about possible coordinated activity near sensitive military operations. One of the requests, spherical UAP over AFG in and out of clouds on November the 23rd, 2020, is a video reportedly showing a massive disc weaving in and out of cloud cover. Investigative journalists Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, who leaked parts of the clip, said the footage was recorded by the government personnel over the Afghanistan-Pakistan border in November 2020. The object was spotted by a reconnaissance mission by a high-altitude Air Force platform, so it's very suspicious, all right? So now are you ready for the big update? Okay, so the Sentinel Network, this is a site that's been digging into the UFO disappearances deeper than anyone, and they were doing it before me, all right? I was doing it before the mainstream media, but I got to shout out the Sentinel Briefing, the Sentinel.network, for their initial coverage of this, and this is really what put it on my radar, and it is just crazy. So they've actually got some updates, and they've connected some dots between General McCasland and the disappearance of him, as well as his X account. So this says, an anonymous X account went silent the day that the general vanished, and we found what it left behind. 38 years of service, the wrong universities, the right physics, a 1998 observation from the cockpit of a military tanker, and a 2-page document that might be the key to everything. So let's get into it, all right? There he is, the general, out hiking, disappeared, no shoes, no glasses, just a revolver, and he left behind his phone. It is very suspicious. I'm dying to know what happened to him, so let's hear. On Monday, we published The Ghost General. We mapped the institutional web that no one else was mapping, the defense consulting firm, the business partner that every outlet misidentified as a community acquaintance, the wife whose career nobody checked, the statute that nobody read, and the emails that nobody followed past the first one. But today, the story expands. An anonymous X account called TMB Spaceships, display name Electric Propulsive spacecraft, has been posting about exotic electric propulsion, plasma physics, and ionized gas flight mechanics since November 2022. It's blue check verified and has 1,645 posts, and the bio reads 38-year active duty USAF PhD engineer. And then on February the 27th, 2026, that account stopped posting. That's the same day that Major General William Neal McCasland walked out of 1701 Quail Run Court at Northeast without his phone, watch, and then disappeared. The last post was roughly 30 minutes before he was last seen. Here's the account, and here's what the data shows. So there it is. They believe that this is General Neal McCasland's account. He was posting them alien space propulsive secrets, and he went missing and the account stopped posting. Very, very suspicious and some excellent research. So it says McCasland served from 1979 to 2013. That's 34 years, not 38. His degrees are from USAFA and MIT, not UT or OU. He served in AFMC. That part checks out, but AFIT and AETC aren't primary career assignments. 4 years off, wrong universities. 2 of the affiliations don't match cleanly. But in the Ghost General, we documented a consistent pattern. McCasland operated behind deliberate ambiguity, and the WikiLeaks email showed him coordinating disclosure strategies while never publicly acknowledging any of it. A man who spent decades managing the gap between what's said and what's known wouldn't put his real credentials in a public bio. He would degrade them just enough to fail a data scrape while keeping them close enough to signal relevance to anybody who knew what to look for. And he's posting schematics here. Now, this is really interesting. It says, I saw this in 1998 from the cockpit of a KC-135. So he was posting stuff that he had seen in the course of his career. All right, very interesting, very suspect. Some people might not have liked that he was putting this out there for the world. So on December the 30th, 2023, the account posted a photograph of a hand-drawn diagram on lined notebook paper, and the tweet reads, I saw this in 1998 from the cockpit of a KC-135. A KC-135 Stratotanker is a military aerial refueling aircraft, and the author is claiming to be a military aircrew who saw something they couldn't explain, and they went home and drew it. Now, I couldn't tell you what this does. It says fluorescent ionized gas went in there, dissipating trailing relaxation zone, royal green ionized helium, helium emission spectra, yellow fluorescent, gas atmosphere follows STD chemical ionization. This says possible ion ejection, not to scale. And it had a corona in the middle and it was a ball of light. This looks like a UFO in the way it's flying. That is actually insane. So the drawing shows a bright object labeled ball with light, surrounded by a corona, descending through the atmosphere in sharp 90-degree steps. Behind it trails a multicolored ionization field in rainbow layered bands. Annotations identify specific emission zones: green for ionized helium, yellow for fluorescence, purple for a dissipating trailing relaxation zone. Now read the description at the bottom. It says the dot at the front was incandescent with a white with a halo of Crookes dark space. I initially saw it going east to west along the Kansas border. Approximate initial altitude was FL 1500, stepping down to FL 900 in a series of quick 90-degree downsteps. The tail was a beautiful multicolor fluorescent collapsing ionized gas zone over 100 miles long. I've seen the bright royal green in ionized helium experiments before. It says unpack that paragraph and every sentence is doing massive work. FL 1500 to FL 900, flight level 150,000 feet, stepping down to 90,000 feet near space. A KC-135 ceiling is around 50,000 feet, so the observer is looking up at something executing precise altitude drops where nothing conventionally flies. Crookes dark space is a phonetic misspelling of Crookes dark space, a specific region in gas discharge tube physics where electron density drops and visible glow ceases. That's laboratory vocabulary, someone who stood in front of a vacuum tube watching plasma glow patterns. I've seen the bright royal green in ionized helium experiments before. Now this is the sentence that matters the most. The author isn't theorizing. They watched something in the sky and recognized a specific emission color from hands-on laboratory work. They're claiming direct experimental experience with plasma physics. We tried to match the handwriting. McCaslin's 1980 SM thesis and 1988 PhD thesis are available through MIT's DSpace Digital Repository. We pulled them, and the signature pages have all been scrubbed. McCaslin's signature, his supervisor's signature, all whited out. This isn't targeted. MIT libraries redact all signatures from digitized theses as a standard policy, but the physical copies in distinctive collections would have the originals, but the digital archive gives us nothing. But the schematic's authorship rests on content, not penmanship, which the author knew, what they claim to have seen, and what they claim to have done in a laboratory. So, it says, the notebooks have multiple pages. We noticed faint text bleeding through from the page beneath the drawing, and we ran an image enhancement to isolate it. What came back is not notes, but it's a component list. So, they were actually able to find out what was on the page underneath this with a pretty crazy analysis. And I'm trying to do a little something under my desk right now. This is getting a bit tricky. Okay, yeah, we're good. So the fact that they were able to find this and work this out is pretty insane, that they were able to find out what was on the other page. They're digging deeper than anyone could have possibly ever imagined. So it would say center left, electron gun, magnetic compressor, continuous marks generator, short linear accelerator, right side beneath the 500 to 1000 watt microwave transmitter materials, aluminum, copper, thorium, chromium dioxide, cuprous chloride, and beryllium oxide, helium-3 ion, top annotations, gas out, cathodic bridge, thick dielectric thorium dioxide. Read that list a few times slowly. I'm good. The front page is an observation. Someone drew what they saw. The back page is what happened next. Someone sat down and started working backward from the observation to the engineering. So they were trying to reverse engineer what they had seen. And it says the two pages talk to each other. The front page describes a halo of Crookes dark space. The back page lists an electron gun and cathodic bridge. That's the exact hardware that produces a Crookes dark space in a laboratory. The front page shows a multicolored helium tail at ionization states +2 through +4. The back page specifies H helium-3 ion as a propellant fed through a short linear accelerator driven by a continuous marks generator, a sustained high voltage pulsed power system designed to ionize and accelerate plasma. That's the engine for the 100-mile glowing trail. The front page describes a craft at near vacuum altitudes executing sharp maneuvers without aerodynamic stress. The back page lists beryllium oxide, a ceramic that's both an excellent electrical insulator and highly thermally conductive. It's used in directed energy systems to dissipate enormous amounts of heat without shorting. That's the thermal management solution. Cuprous chloride is used in copper vapor lasers, which produce intense green and yellow light, the same colors in the front page drawing. Thoriated tungsten, both thorium and tungsten appear in the list, is the standard emitter for high-performance thermionic cathodes. Chromium dioxide is strongly magnetic and a potential component of the magnetic compression stage. The front page could be drawn by any technically literate military observer, but the second page cannot. This is someone who looked at an aerial phenomenon and reverse engineered a plausible hardware architecture, pulsed power, particle acceleration, magnetic compression with specific materials selected for their electrical, thermal, and magnetic properties. That's systems engineering. So whoever drew this knew exactly what the fuck was going on. They see a bunch of crazy rainbow shit in the sky and they knew exactly what possible elements could actually be used to make such a thing fly. This says the spelling problem. Fluorescent for fluorescent, emission for emission, border for border, gas for gas, crooks for crooks. 5 misspellings, everyone phonetic. The author heard these words more than they read them. And this is someone who can identify helium ionization states on site and reverse engineer a Marx generator architecture from a visual observation. This is someone with a PhD. 2 explanations. The simple one, lots of physicists can't spell. In an informal hand-drawn diagram, something sketched at home after a flight, phonetic approximations are common. Crooks actually reinforces the lab experience claim. It's someone who learned the term verbally from a colleague, never needing to spell a Victorian physicist's name. Operational one, if you're a senior officer creating a record of something you observed from a military aircraft at near space altitudes, you might intentionally degrade the document's academic pedigree. Phonetic spelling creates plausible deniability. I didn't write this, look at the errors. A man with my credentials wouldn't produce this. The hard technical data survives, but the authorship trail degrades, and the account even states this in a post made on February 2026. This says, error in post are purposeful, if for no other reason than to piss off the first level critical thinkers who are smug semanticists FOD plug the smuggy semanticist, with a picture of a strange aircraft. So he's basically saying, whoever put this tweet up, he's saying errors in the poster on purpose, right? If for no other reason than to piss off people who are semantics. So this guy clearly had a bit of a personality. This is Department of, I don't know if DOE, Department of Defense, DOW, I don't know exactly what it's referring to, but engineering utilizes advanced stochastic ion nodal valence-driven distribution in manufacturing sintered ceramic monolithic shock capture accumulators. These monolithic crystal shock diodes resemble a white transitioning to a gray sharpening stone with 4. This guy is smart as fuck. I can barely even piece it together. But anyway, it says everything in this analysis, the schematic and the second page, the description block comes from one place, the TMB Spaceship's X account. 1,645 posts since November 2022, a single sustained focus, ionized gas as a propulsive medium. There ain't too many people that know about this shit. Let's be real. All right. There's only so many people that are going to be talking about this stuff. The 1998 schematic is the most dramatic artifact in the archive we found, but it's not an outlier, it's the anchor. Everything else the account posted reads like someone continuing to work the same problem they first encountered from the cockpit of a KC-135. Post-reference ionized helium to He+, +5 or +6 state, and posts discuss electroacoustic wave interactions, dense engineering, shorthand through thought. And so he's getting political too. He says, Idiocracy 2026, US Air Force C-17s transport micronuclear reactors, no disclosure coming, hyper-extensive fuel-based nuclear and fusion for the plebs. The energy in a lightning bolt is a local non-linear discharge of the adiabatic field that's always flowing. Excellent plasma research resource, plasma wake shaping, Jordan Maxwell and Hans-Peter Schorb, applications and methods of vacuum wake forming, establishment, the nuclear transport vector with plasma wake to suck your spacecraft along. The physical action is similar to following the low pressure zone. So this is another drawing of how basically nuclear transport could be used to suck a spacecraft along. So it says, so we have a profile, retired USAF officer with a PhD, decades of service, KC-135 flight time, hands-on lab experience with ionized helium, deep enough knowledge of pulse power, particle acceleration, and magnetic compression to reverse engineer a propulsion architecture from a visual observation, and a years-long obsession with plasma propulsion physics that has never surfaced in any journal or conference proceeding. Now put McCaslin next to the profile. His MIT PhD was on fault-tolerant control of flexible structures, sensors and actuators. On paper, this isn't his field, but careers diverge from dissertations, and McCaslin commanded the Phillips Research Site at Kirtland, directed energy weapons and advanced space technologies. He ran the Space-Based Laser Project Office. He oversaw AFRL's entire $4.4 billion portfolio, which included pulsed power, plasma science, and particle acceleration research. And since June 2019, as we documented in the Ghost General, he has sat on the board of trustees at Riverside Research, a non-for-profit conducting classified and unclassified research for the US government in optics, electromagnetics, and plasma physics. The TMB Spaceship's author knows plasma physics from the inside of a lab. McCaslin's career put him in command of the laboratories that do this work. So the author's knowledge has never been published, and McCaslin spent his career managing programs where publication wasn't even an option. So it says this account was created in November 2022, 1,645 posts in roughly 3.5 years, and then in February 2026, the cadence was regular. Posts every day, every other day, every 5 days at the widest gap, active and engaged right up to the end of the month. On February the 27th, 2026, TMB Spaceships makes its last post. February 27, 2026, approximately 11 a.m., McCaslin is last seen leaving foot from his home. 22 minutes after that account makes its last post. And then on day 12, nothing. An account with documented daily to weekly posting through February 2026 stopped cold on the same day a retired USAF general with an overlapping technical profile disappeared from a home 12 minutes from Kirtland Air Force Base. What we are following from here. The Coulthard escalation. Investigative journalist Ross Coulthard has publicly called McCaslin's disappearance a grave national security crisis, stating McCaslin holds some of the most sensitive secrets in the United States. He's drawing a direct line to Trump's recent UAP disclosure promises. The national security framing is now mainstream. The Whitewash Trailhead sighting, an unconfirmed from the Albuquerque Trail Running Crew's Facebook group that someone matching McCaslin's description of the Whitewash Trailhead in Piedra Lisa Canyon, BCSO has not confirmed this. Then the search technology. BCSO says that they're utilizing all possible resources, including advanced technologies, in the context of a former AFRL commander with directed energy and space surveillance expertise. That phrase carries a different weight. What technologies and deployed by whom? The continuing silence. Day 12, FBI integrated, Kirtland coordinating, no evidence of foul play, all possible scenarios, and a man whose career was defined by managing what the public was allowed to know is simply gone. Okay? Insane. All right? That's the end of it. That's the end of it. Okay? So I could believe that that was him tweeting. I think it is a little bit suspect that, you know, this account was tweeting daily to weekly, suddenly, literally last tweet 20 minutes before Neil McCaslin goes missing, and then it doesn't post at all for, well, since then, and that's a whole month that's gone by, multiple weeks. It's super suspicious, and I do think some of those things that he was drawing could actually genuinely be classified space technology. Now, who knows, man? Maybe he was picked up by the authorities for posting this stuff out there online on Twitter, or maybe a foreign hostile government, or maybe, if you really want to go off the deep end, them aliens. But I do think this is really interesting. I've been following this whole alien situation closely, and I'm just gripped by it. So anytime I get an update, you know I'll be back to give you guys everything that I know. But for now, that's it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Neil McCaslin was running that Twitter account? I think it could be true. There ain't too many eggheads that have this level of knowledge in their egghead, right? In their head. And so for him to be posting all of this on Twitter and then disappearing and then the account goes dark, it makes a whole lot of sense. But right now, that's literally the closest we've got to any new information on this guy. So when I hear more, I'll let you guys know. But for now,